Good morning everyone. Before starting today's lecture, I request you all to keep your pen and notebook along with you to note down the definitions. Today, definitions will be dictated and you have to note down. Today, we will start with chapter number 17, Breathing and Exchange of Gases. What do you mean by breathing? It is a physical process that involves intake of fresh air and removal of foul air. I repeat, it is a physical process that involves intake of fresh air and removal of foul air. Keep your hand on your chest. Take in air. When you take in air, you can feel your chest move outward. This process is known as inhalation when you take in air. Now release the air outside. What do you feel? That your chest move downward. This process is known as exhalation. So breathing is a physical process and it takes place simultaneously. Now the next is respiration. What do you mean by respiration? You have studied this in your junior class also, in class 10th. Now, what do you mean by respiration? Respiration is an oxidation process involving the burning up of food substances such as carbohydrates, fats and proteins within the tissues to form carbon dioxide, water and consequent release of energy in the form of ATP. In your junior classes, when we ask you why do we need food? So you answer we need food to get energy. Now how energy is produced from the food? That is during the process of respiration. In the last chapter you have studied that the complex macronutrient, carbohydrate, fats and proteins are converted into their simpler forms, that is glucose, fatty acid and amino acid. Oxidation or breakdown of these simpler substances take place to release energy in the form of ATP, carbon dioxide and water molecule. Most of the students consider that breathing and respiration are the same processes, but no. There is a huge difference between the breathing and respiration. Breathing simply means intake of fresh air and removal of foul air, whereas respiration means that oxidation of food in the cells to form carbon dioxide, water and energy in the form of ATP. Breathing is a physical process, whereas respiration is a biochemical process. In breathing, no energy is released, rather it is used by the muscles for the movement. But in the respiration, energy is released in the form of ATP. Breathing occurs outside the cell, so it is known as the extracellular process. Extra means outside, cellular means cell, outside the cell. But respiration occurs inside the cell. So it is known as intracellular process. Intra means inside, cellular means cell. No enzymes are involved in the breathing. But in respiration, large number of enzymes are involved for the breakdown of the food. In your class 10th, you have studied about types of respiration. Aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. So let's revise it again. What is aerobic respiration? Aerobic respiration means breakdown of food into simpler substances to release energy in the presence of oxygen. Whereas anaerobic respiration means that the breakdown of simpler food takes place in the absence of oxygen. So anaerobic respiration do not require oxygen, whereas aerobic respiration takes place in the presence of oxygen. In anaerobic respiration, carbon dioxide may or may not released, whereas in aerobic respiration, there is always release of carbon dioxide. Then, in anaerobic respiration, less energy is produced. You remember that in anaerobic respiration, yeast, only 2 ATP molecule are produced, and when the production of lactic acid take place in muscles, then also only 2 ATP are produced. Whereas in case of aerobic respiration, much more energy is released. Around 38 ATP molecules are released. Anaerobic respiration, it takes place in cytoplasm of the cell, whereas aerobic respiration, it occurs both in cytoplasm and in mitochondria. Examples of anaerobic respiration are yeast, mussels, and parasitic worms. And aerobic respiration takes place in most of plants and animals. Next topic is respiratory structures for the exchange of gases. Mechanism of breathing vary among different groups of animals, depending mainly on their habitats and level of organization. Different animal groups have evolved different respiratory structures for the exchange of gases. Now, different animal groups are, we will start with the sponges. Sponges belong to phylum Porifera. Phylums you have studied in your class 9. So first phylum belonging to animal kingdom is phylum Porifera. In phylum Porifera or sponges, Coelenterata, that are known as Cnidarian, Platyhelminths or flatworm. In these group organism, breathing take place by the simple diffusion over the entire body surface. But in parasitic platyhelminths or flatworm, no exchange of gases take place. They show anaerobic respiration. In nematoda or nemathelminths or roundworm, respiration take place through general body surface by the process of diffusion. And in parasites like roundworms, no exchange of gases take place. It means they show anaerobic respiration. Next group is Annelida. Annelida, example of Annelida is earthworm. They show respiration by skin or cuticle, and the organism in which respiration take place through skin, that process of respiration is known as cutaneous respiration, means respiration through skin or cuticle. Next group is Arthropoda. In Arthropoda, different types of organism have different respiratory structures on the basis of their habitat. For instance, prawn, crayfish, they have gills and they show branchial respiration. Branchial word is related to gills. So they show branchial respiration and it takes place through gills. All the insects, they have special structure for respiration or special respiratory structures known as tracheae, and such respiration is known as the tracheal respiration, means respiration through tracheae. Next are scorpions and spiders. They have a special structures known as book lungs. King crab have book gills. Now the next group is phylum Mollusca. Phylum Mollusca, mainly they show respiration with the help of lung, which is known as pulmonary sac. It is not so advanced lungs, but it is a category of lung and it is the pulmonary sac. And some of them breathe through gills also, and the gills in mollusks are known as the ctenidia. Next group is Echinodermata. Echinodermata, it has a special structure for respiration known as tube feed. Now next we will move to the phylum Chordata. In phylum Chordata, all vertebrata, they show respiration through different structure. Now in vertebrata, fishes, they breathe through gills. As you all know, fish, they breathe through gills. So the respiration is known as branchial respiration. Amphibians like frog, they have a moist thin skin, so they can respire through skin, and they have lungs also for respiration. Animals belonging to class Reptilia, aves and Mammalia, all of them breathe through lungs. So from this table you have to learn only those group of animal with their respiratory structure and respiratory organ which are given in your NCERT. Let's start with the very important topic according to your exams and according to your competitive exam. Many questions are asked from this topic, that is pulmonary volume and pulmonary capacity. What do you mean by pulmonary volume? The quantities of air the lungs can receive, hold or expel under different conditions are called respiratory or pulmonary volume. I repeat, please note down, the quantities of air the lungs can receive, hold or expel under different conditions are called respiratory volume. Next is pulmonary capacities. What do you mean by pulmonary capacity? It refers to a combination of two or more pulmonary volumes. I repeat, a combination of two or more pulmonary volume. First of all, we will start with the pulmonary volume. So what was the pulmonary volume? The quantities of air the lung can receive, hold or expel under different conditions are called respiratory or pulmonary volume. First is tidal volume. When you are at home, now you are sitting, so what type of breathing is going on? That is normal breathing. You are inhaling and exhaling the air. Note your breath. This is the normal breathing. So what is tidal volume? It is the volume of air normally inspired or expired in one breath without any effort. It means right now you are not putting any extra effort to take in air or to exhale air. This volume is known as the tidal volume, and the amount of tidal volume is 500 ml. Okay, so what is tidal volume? It is the volume of air normally inspired or expired in one breath without any effort. That is the tidal volume. So normal breathing is known as tidal volume and its amount is 500 ml. Now from this 500 ml, only 350 ml of air enters into your lung alveoli. Means the alveolar sac, they receive only 350 ml of air for the exchange of gases, and this is known as alveolar volume. And the remaining 150 out of 500 fills the respiratory passage. What does it mean? When you take in air, some of the air, around 150 ml, it remains in your respiratory tract like trachea, bronchi, bronchioles. It is filled with about 150 ml of air. But what amount of air it goes to your alveolar sac? That is the 350 ml. So 350 ml, that is the alveolar volume, and 150 ml air which fills your respiratory tract, that is not of any use because it doesn't reach the alveoli. So that is known as the dead space volume. So total volume is 500 ml of tidal volume. Next is inspiratory reserve volume. Inspiratory word is from inspiration. It means now we are taking in air, and it is the forced inspiration. After normal breathing, now when we inhale forcibly, like in yoga, when you intake extra amount of air forcibly, that is known as inspiratory reserve volume. So note down the definition. It is the extra amount of air which can be inhaled forcibly after normal inspiration. Now you can do, you are taking in fresh air normally. Normal inspiration is going on. Now take a deep breath. So this is known as inspiratory reserve volume, means extra amount of air which can be inhaled forcibly after normal inspiration, and it is around 2000 to 2500 ml. According to your NCERT, values are given 2500 to 3000 ml. Somewhat change can be there in the value. It can vary even from the person to person, and according to the work also these value vary, but the normal value is 2500 to 3000 ml, and it is also known as IRV. I repeat it again. Inspiratory reserve volume means it is the extra amount of air which can be inhaled forcibly after normal inspiration, and it is also known as forced inspiration, and its value is around 2500 ml to 3000 ml according to NCERT. Next is expiratory reserve volume, ERV, means forced expiration. Same you can do here like inspiratory reserve volume. When you are exhaling normally, when you exhale forcibly, that is known as expiratory reserve volume. Exhale normally, now exhale forcibly. This is known as expiratory reserve volume. Now note down the definition. It is the extra amount of air which can be exhaled forcibly after a normal expiration. I repeat, it is the extra amount of air which can be exhaled forcibly after normal expiration. So it is a kind of forced exhalation, and the volume is 1000 to 1500 ml. Next is residual volume. Residue means leftover. So what does it mean? The air which is always left in the lung. So what do you mean by residual volume? It is the volume of air which still remain in the lungs after the most forceful expiration. I repeat, it is the volume of air which still remains in the lungs after most forceful expiration. So when you exhale forcibly, the air which remain inside your lungs, that is said to be residual volume, and its volume is around 1500 ml. According to NCERT, 1100 to 1200 ml. Next is the pulmonary capacity. I told you earlier, what do you mean by pulmonary capacity? It is a combination of two or more pulmonary volumes. So pulmonary volumes are tidal volume, inspiratory reserve volume, expiratory reserve volume, and residual volume. Now, first pulmonary capacity definition is of inspiratory capacity. What do you mean by inspiratory capacities? Please note down, total volume of air a person can inspire after a normal expiration. Now your breathing is normally going on. Normal inspiration, now normal expiration. Now inhale forcibly. Now the total volume of air which you inhale after normal expiration is known as inspiratory capacity. So inspiratory capacity is equal to tidal volume. Please note down, inspiratory capacity IC is equal to tidal volume plus IRV, inspiratory reserve volume. Note down the value of tidal volume. Tidal volume we have done, it is equal to 500 ml plus inspiratory reserve volume, it is equal to 2000 or 2500 ml. So the total is around 500 plus 2500, it is 3000, and it varies from 3000 to 3500 ml. Next is expiratory capacities. Again, note down, total volume of air a person can expire after normal inspiration. So what is expiratory capacity? The amount of air you expire or you exhale after a normal inspiration. So its sum is equal to tidal volume plus expiratory reserve volume. Tidal volume is equal to 500 plus expiratory reserve volume is equal to 1000. So its value is from 1500 ml. So its value is 1500 ml. 500 plus 1000 is equal to 1500 ml. Now next is functional residual volume. What do you mean by functional residuum? Next is functional residual capacity. What do you mean by functional residual capacity? It is the volume of air that will remain in the lungs after normal expiration. I repeat again, it is the volume of air that will remain in the lungs after normal expiration. And the sum of functional residual volume is equal to ERV, expiratory reserve volume, plus residual volume. So 1000 plus 1500 ml is equal to 2500 ml. So the value of functional residual volume is functional residual capacity is 2500 ml. That is of expiratory reserve volume plus residual volume equal to functional residual capacity. Next is total lung capacity. What do you mean by total lung capacity? Note down, it is the total amount of air present in the lungs and the respiratory passage after maximum inspiration. It means when you are inhaling forcibly, what amount of air it is present in your lung as well as in your respiratory passage, that total forms the total lung capacity. And total lung capacity is equal to expiratory reserve volume plus inspiratory reserve volume plus residual volume. That is 2000 plus 1000, 3000 plus 1500, that is 4500 ml. Approximately 5000 ml is the value of total lung capacity. Now last is the vital capacity. What do you mean by vital capacity? We see it is the amount of air which one can inhale and exhale with maximum effort. When you do yoga, when you inhale forcibly and exhale forcibly with your maximum effort, that volume of air is known as vital capacity. And vital capacity is equal to expiratory reserve volume plus inspiratory reserve volume plus tidal volume. 2000, 1000 plus 500 is equal to 3500 ml. Approximately 4000 ml. So this is the vital capacity. I hope definitions are clear to all of you. Please revise regularly, only then you will be able to learn, because somewhat confusion occur between these definitions, but when you will revise regularly, everything will be clear. Now you have to write differences between definition like inspiratory capacity, expiratory capacity, inspiratory reserve volume, expiratory reserve volume. I am giving you one example, difference between vital capacity and total lung capacity. First of all, write the definition. What is vital capacity? Amount of air exhaled with maximum effort and inhaled with maximum effort. But total lung capacity is the amount of air inhaled and exhaled forcibly plus residual volume. Vital capacity, it is equal to sum total of inspiratory reserve volume, expiratory reserve volume and tidal volume. Total lung capacity, its sum total is equal to inspiratory reserve volume, expiratory reserve volume, tidal volume and residual volume. Its volume ranges between 3500 ml to 4500 ml and total lung capacity volume varies from 5000 ml to 6000 ml. So the maximum volume is of total lung capacity. Thank you everyone.